Welcome to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. And like always, I'd like to give a shout out, first of all, to my biological family, what's going on, to the Universal African People's Organization family, as well as to the New Life Evangelistic Center family, led by Reverend Rice. Tonight, we're going to have another great show. In studio with me is a strong brother and colleague and friend for a number of years, Brother Malik Ahmed, who is the president and the founder of Better Family Life. Welcome to Conversations with Zaki.
Zaki, it's really good to be here with you. As you just said, we have been friends for a long time, comrades in the struggle for a long time, and you know that struggle continues.
Absolutely. You know, for each of my programs, I always like for my guests to just share a little bit about my guest's background, you know, where you're from, a little bit of your educational background, or wherever you want to share with the millions of people who are listening.
I would love to share that background. I was born and raised in Harlem, New York, a community that I love and that I cherish, and a childhood and an upbringing that I also love and cherish. Actually, I came out of the projects, the public housing projects in Harlem, in Central Harlem, and it was, that project was the epicenter since the 1950s of cultural consciousness, political consciousness, youth activism, Pan-Africanism, all kinds of things. And it was located in an area that all of the luminaries passed through, from the sports figures like Willie Mays and Wilt Chamberlain and
Willie Mays and Wilt Chamberlain came from that particular
No, they
area?
didn't come from that part, but they hung out because, you know, in the early days of Willie Mays' career, he was with the New York Giants before they went out to San Francisco.
That's right. Absolutely.
So Willie Mays used to actually play stickball in Harlem.
Okay.
You know, Wilt Chamberlain, about 3 blocks from where I lived, he had a bar called Small's Paradise. So, and then he would play basketball on 135th Street. Malcolm X, when he left the Nation of Islam, the restaurant that he used to eat frequent was called 22 West, which was right around the corner from me. All of the politicians lived in a complex called the Lenox Terrace, which is, you know, it was like where everything was happening. Dr. Ben lived in the Lenox Terrace. In fact, a brother of mine's and Dr. Ben lived in the same block. So I was very fortunate to be in a location that, you know, was the epicenter of Harlem and the epicenter of Harlem consciousness.
So within that context, I guess that environment helped influence and shape you for today. In fact, just real quickly, you mentioned the word Pan-Africanism. Just for our audience, share your perception of what does Pan-African, because you were saying a number of Pan-Africanist leaders, and that thought wave was very prevalent in Harlem. During the period
during that time, during the early 1960s, a lot of countries achieved, African countries and Caribbean countries achieved their independence. And so there was a number of diplomats. They couldn't find residential housing in any other borough in New York or any other place for that matter. And they all moved up, or many of them moved up to Harlem in 1960, 1961, 1962. Well, it corresponded with the same time when African Americans was getting a consciousness of what was taking place globally, linking the civil rights and the human rights and the Black Power movement in America with what was taking place in countries. So the commonality of our struggle, both locally, nationally, and internationally, began to merge into one, that we were fighting against the forces of neocolonialism, imperialism, and capitalism. And so from a Pan-Africanist point of view, it's black people being in solidarity with the entire continent of Africa, both politically and as well as culturally and socially.
So with that said, when did you actually move from New York to St. Louis? And then we'll get into your work here in St. Louis.
I moved from New York. First, I spent several years in Africa. I spent about 3 years in Africa in the Peace Corps back in the 1970s, from 1977 to 1980 in the country of Mali. And then I went back to New York for a short period of time, and before I knew it, I met a beautiful sister named Deborah Buchanan. We met in New York, and she started telling me about St. Louis, and we married in 1981. And then in 1982, I moved to St. Louis. And that is how I got here.
Okay, then, and I must say that you do have a very beautiful, conscious wife, and it's been my pleasure knowing both of you. We want to get into Better Family Life. Yeah. That's you're the president and the founder of an organization that has had a lot of tremendous impact in the St. Louis area. In what year was Better Family Life founded? Better
Family Life was founded in St. Louis in 1983, but it was actually founded in New York City by members of my family back in 1982. So it was an organization that we did a lot of social activism and entrepreneurship. When I went to Africa, they carried on, especially on the entrepreneurial side. And then when I came back and started talking about, we need to integrate social concerns and consciousness, they decided to stay on the entrepreneurial side. I came here to St. Louis in 1982. By 1983,
okay. Can we hold that point?
Yes.
We'll take a quick break.
Okay.
And then we'll be back.
Okay.
Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Malik Ahmed, who's the president and founder of Better Family Life. And on the flip side, prior to our break, you were just sharing with the audience in terms of you came to St. Louis as an extension of building Better Family Life, starting in New York, right?
Yes, exactly. And then so Deborah and I, we, in University City, she was working at Washington University teaching African dance. And several of her students in 1983 became interested in wanting to do some things in the community. So we formed Better Family Life in St. Louis in 1983, February 6, 1983.
Okay, then. Now, share with our audience the vision and some of the practical work that Better Family Life is engaged in.
The vision of Better Family Life is to, first of all, do exactly what the name suggests, Better Family Life, which we think families ought to be the basis of how we build communities. And in the whole concept of building families is how you build yourself out. So it's a self-conscious effort to build self and your immediate family, and then that family then becomes an extension of the community, or the community becomes the extension of that family. So we're building families. And then unique to families is their need to have a philosophical point of view. Cultural development is one of the ways that we think one viewing of themselves, if one feels good about themselves and they know their history and they know the nature of the struggle that, especially the history here in America, has created, then you incorporate everything that you do with respect to the struggle that your people have undertaken or undergone. So Better Family Life is a holistic approach to building a people to engage in social activism.
So within that context, I want to kind of delve, and I salute you, the efforts of the concept, the vision, Better Family Life. But when we look practically in terms, and I don't have the statistics right in front of me, you know, we have a lot of homes that have been decimated by drugs, and you have a lot of homes where you have a single mother in our community, sad to say.
Yes.
Do you kind of address those kinds of issues too?
We address every aspect of what families need to thrive in this society. So Better Family Life is renowned for its social programs. Those social programs have also economic sides to it. So there's a workforce program trying to get people who've been chronically unemployed or skill deficient into the workforce, into career opportunities. We've been doing that now for about 19 years and have had great success.
How many would you say that you have been able to make concretely a transition, those chronically unemployed, to really get employment?
Over the years, more than 25,000 people.
That's great.
Yes, we've been on the front lines of that, both in St. Louis City, in St. Louis County, and even in East St. Louis. We aren't in East St. Louis now, but we spent about 11, 12 years in East St. Louis. We have to match the work that we do with the activism that we believe in. And so another major program of Better Family Life is housing. Finding decent and affordable housing for people, helping them with down payment assistance, helping them to improve their credit scores so that they are not, exploited by some of these loans, predatory loans. We've been on the front lines of fighting predatory loans and getting people into decent, affordable housing.
And I must interject on that point on a personal level. I just want to salute you in terms of with help with one of my children, in fact, one of my daughters. So that's an excellent program. Let me let folks know that's an excellent program.
Thank you.
Okay, some other programming?
The one that I think most people know Better Family Life by is the work that our brother James Clark has been doing. Is our community outreach department, trying everything that we can to abate crime and vandalism and other kinds of ills that cause public safety to be an issue in our community. Better Family Life has been on the front lines of trying to mitigate some of the problems that the community has with the police, as well as strengthening block associations so that they take a more active role in their community.
Yeah, so on that note, and we're going to be taking a break real short, but again, we have to salute you for addressing the issue of crime in our community. A lot of times, as a social activist, I've been out front speaking out police violence, and then there's always feedback that what are y'all doing as relates to black on black crime, and we'll get into that on the other side of the break. So,
but it's most important that we deal with white on black crime.
Absolutely. Okay, I like that point. On that note, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki Baruti, and in studio with me is a longtime advocate for change in our community, Better Family Life, and that's Brother Malik Ahmed. And on the other side of the break, we were just getting into, and we really don't have enough time per se, so I'm going to have to invite you back to really get into some deep issues as it relates to when we're talking about crime. And I had made mention black on black crime because a lot of criticism comes from the other side of our communities that why are you not addressing some of the the killings, and you mentioned white on black crime. What do you mean by that?
Well, certainly the kind of crimes that we do to each other is so important and has to be addressed. But a bigger crime is perpetrated against black people, and that's the crime of the corporate community that disinvests in largely African American communities. That's criminal. When corporations move their headquarters or move jobs out of the community, they devastate the community. You know, we've seen a strong correlationship between how neighborhoods fall into ruins when the economic anchor is pulled out of that community and people are unable to find jobs. And we know that a stable community is a community that offers jobs, that have strong schools, etc. Well, you know, the young brother on the street is not making the decision to close down the school. The young brother on the street is not making the decision to close down an employment center, an employer. You know, these are above their heads. So, you know, what happens when people are trapped in those kinds of situations, they tend to turn on themselves. They tend to become the crabs in the barrel. So, you know, on a higher level, on a political level, people in government, people that run the corporate community, they have to be put on the hot seat in terms of the criminal acts that they initiate through their policies and their decisions.
You know what, that's a great point too, and just even, you know, being here in studio per New Life Evangelistic Center, I had made a statement upon the closing of the only walk-in shelter for homeless people, that the political powers to be closed that down. I called it demonic, you know, so I guess that fits right in with what you're saying.
They make very poor decisions on the plight of how poor people struggle every day. They don't, a lot of times they don't help the situation, they worsen the situation. And then when the poor people start turning on themselves, then they say, see, this is why, you know, your community looks the way it does. This is, you know, they make the victim the victimizer, you know, as opposed to the people who actually make the decisions about the quality of life of those people. Those are the people that need to be put on the hot seat.
Absolutely. Before we go to a break, if someone out there wanted to get in contact with Better Family Life, how would they get in contact?
They would call us at area code 314-367-3440, extension 199. And speak to our attendants. They can be then, if their concern is housing, a housing department, community outreach, youth, family, and clinical services, which is also a very big part, workforce, and I never mentioned cultural arts. So we have 5 programs, and then we also have a membership association that we would love for the community to call us and see how they can become involved with our membership.
Once again, that phone number and the website, then we'll take another break.
Oh, it's area code 314-367-3440, extension 199. The website is www.betterfamilylife.org. Please stay with us, stay in contact with us. We would love for you to participate in the work that we're doing.
On that note, we're going to take another break and be right back with Brother Malik Ahmed, Better Family Life. Welcome back to Conversations with Zaki in studio with Brother Malik Ahmed. We only have a short time left. Malik, you a couple of initiatives I really want you to touch upon, your cultural center and
the housing initiative.
Housing, okay.
2 things. The Cultural Center is the Better Family Life Cultural, Educational, and Business Center located at 5415 Page Boulevard. It's a $17 million renovation of a formal elementary school, the Ralph Waldo Emerson School, now the Cultural Center. That is a place that the community can come for anything, youth programs, cultural arts, membership, housing, workforce, please visit us at that facility. It's a first-class facility. We're very proud of the work that we've done to make that school come back to life. The other project that we're really excited about that is going to take a lot of effort and a lot of money, about $20 million, is the redevelopment of Page Boulevard, the residential as well as the commercial development, from Kings Highway East to Skinker West, from Wells North to Vernon South. The city we were blessed to get about 100 properties from the city, and it's going to take us about $150,000 to $200,000 to bring these properties back to life. We are in the process of raising dollars, looking for funding sources of every kind, because we also, Zaki, we want to subsidize people's housing, even though it might take us $150,000 to $175,000 to fix these houses up. We want to sell them only at about $120,000 to $130,000, so that people walk in the first day with equity in their homes. We also want to see commercial redevelopment take place so that Page Boulevard in the future thrives.
Well, you know, Malik, I really, on behalf of our organization, salute the vision that you just shared, and we just pray that you are able to make it happen. We're claiming it, that you are going to make it happen.
That's right. That's right.
And just want to, really, again, salute the work that Better Family Life is currently doing in our community.
And I just want to salute you for all of the work, Zaki, that you have done. Thank you. Your organization is on the front line of the political, social, economic development, and I really applaud all that you have done.
Okay, on that note, I appreciate that. So, it's been a good show. It's just like I say, just go too fast. So, on that note, you have been listening to Conversations with Zaki Baruti. Let your friends and family know that we are on every Saturday night. God bless.